Paul Lukas. He does this for a living. Uniwatch.com, an ESPN columnist, and Paul joins us now. What are the Clippers trying to do with those new unis, Paul?
I think they are trying to leave the Donald Sterling era as far behind as they can get. This feels like a rush job to me. Usually it takes 2 years, which sounds like a long time to just design a logo and uniforms, but it takes normally 2 years to get something into the supply chain, all the different products and that have to have the new logos and so on that have to be produced for retail. But they produced this actually very quickly after Steve Ballmer bought the team, and I think it shows. It feels like a rush job. It just looks like a makeover for the sake of a makeover, and it doesn't really say anything. It certainly doesn't say Clippers, except it spells out the word Clippers, but it doesn't feel nautical, or it doesn't have that feel of a well-integrated brand.
When focus groups are brought in, and then do you have a fashion show for a focus group?
Usually for a focus group, you'll show them just mock-ups on a computer or on printed media, something like that. Sometimes they'll have a physical uniform or a jersey or something like that, and maybe have somebody wear it. But normally for a focus group, you'll have projections, from PowerPoint or something like that.
What has Oregon's impact been on uniforms?
Well, Oregon has shown that you can have a different uniform, not just every year, but even every game. But that's a little different. The college rules are different. They allow for that. The pro leagues, like the NBA, the NFL, do not allow teams to change their uniforms as often as the NCAA does. So you can't have that kind of revolving door in the pro leagues. But it certainly, Oregon's impact has kind of raised the expectations for what a uniform redesign can be and how much of a visual impact it can have.
3 worst uniforms right now in all of sports are?
Probably the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL, the San Diego Padres in Major League Baseball, and the Sacramento Kings in the NBA.
The 3 best uniforms right now?
St. Louis Cardinals in Major League Baseball. I recently picked the Steelers as having the best in the NFL. I would say the Steelers, the Packers, and the Raiders and the Bears are almost interchangeable at the top of the NFL.
So you're picking teams that don't change?
Often, yeah. I tend to be a classicist. A lot of the change we see in uniforms now is often change for the sake of change rather than for the sake of good design. When you and I were growing up, people couldn't go and buy a jersey at the store or the pro shop. They hadn't figured out that people would spend a couple $100s on a jersey, and so the only thing that drove these types of decisions was what looks good out on the field. And the thing that drives those decisions now is mainly what will sell and who buys these jerseys. Who do they sell to? Mostly a younger subset of the fan base. So you have a sort of niche sensibility that's driving a lot of the design decisions.
But you're looking at these uniforms, and is the NFL missing out on cashing in on this because they're all about cash? Or are they concerned about what the cowboy uniform would look like if you decided to sex it up a little bit, or you went crazy with the Packers or the Steelers or the Raiders? How concerned?
When Nike took over the NFL uniform contract in 2012, everybody thought that they were going to look like Oregon, basically, that the NFL was suddenly going to look like Oregon and get the Nike treatment. But you have to remember that Nike and all the uniform outfitters, Adidas and all these other companies, they are vendors supplying a service to a client. And the client, in the case of the NFL, are the NFL team owners, who are some of the most conservative businessmen in America. And they've in many cases, their families. These are legacy businesses and dynasties. They have a lot invested, both emotionally and financially, in their brands, and they're not just going to let somebody put those brands into a centrifuge and see what comes out the other end.
Give me the uniform that needs to be brought back.
That needs to be brought back. Thanks to throwback games, we see a lot of uniforms brought back. But I think one of the things that fans really would love to see is for the San Diego Padres to bring back brown, any of their brown uniforms. Because, what the Padres have now is not ugly or, it's not bad looking, but it's utterly characterless. It just says nothing. It's bland. And this is a team that has a history, if you go back, of making visual statements with their uniforms. You go back to that Steve Garvey era of the Padres with what we now call the Taco Bell uniforms. I would love to see that brought back.
Paul, good to visit with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Paul Lukas, Uniwatch.com, ESPN columnist.